everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Laura Likes Books. I'm Laura and I do like books. Today I wanted to do a book haul video. I am gonna do about half of the books that I've gotten recently because I've gotten probably about 50 books in the past month. And so today I just thought I would do like 20 or so. And that way I can give like a brief description of each one, and we all know how I like to talk, so in the interest of keeping it short, short as I can anyway, I'm just gonna talk about like half of them. I don't really know why I feel the need to justify why I bought so many books, but I know I don't need to justify it, but I will just say that I spent less than $100 for all of the books combined. Because I thrifted most of them or found them at local bookstores for super cheap. So just putting that out there. Nobody cares except me, but that's how I justify it in my own head. So first up, as far as books I got from the local bookstore, I got Agatha Christie's Crooked House. Like I said, I'll just give like a little brief description of each book, so we can move through them kind of quickly. I believe this one is about a man who dies and they're just trying to figure out who did it. Was it his wife? Was it one of his kids? Nobody knows. The other Agatha Christie I got was Partners in Crime. This is a Tommy and Tuppence mystery, which I have not read. I've actually only read 2 Agatha Christie's, and both of them were Poirot stories. So this will be my first one with this couple. And they take over a detective agency, I guess, and just start solving cases. And I don't know too much about this series, but, you know, I'm excited to see what's up with that. Next, I have Dune Messiah. I have the first Dune, which I still have not read, but I'm going to be reading soon. And then I believe this one is the second. Yeah, this one is the second in the series, so I was really happy to find this, and I love the cover. Next up, I also found Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This is another classic book that I've been really excited to read. I don't know much about it, but I do know that it's about Jane, Jane Eyre, who is pretty independent and strong-willed, and she's a beloved protagonist. It says that she becomes a governess at Thornfield Hall, where she finds herself falling in love with her employer, the dark, impassioned Mr. Rochester. But an explosive secret tears apart their relationship, forcing Jane to face poverty and isolation once again. So it says blend of passion, romance, mystery, and suspense. Next up, continuing in the classics vein, we have Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. I took a classics quiz online to see which classic I should start with or which one I should read. And this was the one I got, Great Expectations. And it says it's a story of orphan Pip and the mysterious fortune which falls into his lap, his snobbish rejection of his old friends, and his growth through pain and mishap into true maturity is the basis for a story where violence and guilt jostle with sharp and grotesque comedy. From the moment the child Pip meets Magwitch, the convict on the eerie Kent marshes, to the last encounter with Estella, the beautiful, heartless woman who has so fruitlessly haunted Pip's emotions, the reader is sucked into a drama whose moral and psychological intensity never slackens. This sounds so interesting to me. So it's like this poor orphan boy who ends up in a world of fortune and like high society. So I'm definitely here for that. Next, I found Amy Tan's The Joy Luck Club. I read this book in high school, and I read it my junior year, and it's the only book I remember reading in high school. It's about 4 Chinese women who moved to the United States and they each have daughters, so it's like the four mothers and the 4 daughters, and it's kind of told through the past and the present. And I don't remember much else about it, but I do remember really loving it, and I've been wanting to reread it for a while to see, you know, if I still think the way my 17-year-old self did. So I'm excited to reread this soon. Next up, we have Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. I literally know nothing about this. I know that it's really famous. The only thing it really says here is the story of how the convict Jean Valjean struggled to escape his past and reaffirm his humanity. In a world brutalized by poverty and ignorance, became the gospel of the poor and the oppressed. So I don't know anything about that, but I would like to read it because I know it's like an important piece of classical literature. I also found Crime and Punishment by Dostoyevsky. I don't know a whole lot about this one either, but I've heard that it's really sad and really impactful. It says, a desperate young man plans the perfect crime, the murder of a despicable pawnbroker, an old woman no one loves and whom no one will mourn. Is it not just, he reasons, for a man of genius to commit such a crime, to transgress moral law if it will ultimately benefit humanity? So begins one of the greatest novels ever written, a powerful psychological study, a terrifying murder mystery, a fascinating detective thriller infused with philosophical, religious, and social commentary. That's basically what I've heard about it before. And that's just another one of those classics that I haven't gotten to, but would like to. I also found Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. I've heard so much about this book, but haven't gotten to read it yet. I'll just read you the blurb. It says, the 50 contestants in the Miss Teen Dream Pageant thought this was going to be a fun trip to the beach where they could parade in their state-appropriate costumes and compete in front of the cameras. But sadly, their airplane had another idea, crashing on a desert island and leaving the survivors stranded with little food, little water, and practically no eyeliner. What's a beauty queen to do? Continue to practice for the talent portion of the program, or wrestle snakes to the ground? Get a perfect tan, or learn to run wild? And what should happen when the sexy pirates show up? Welcome to the heart of non-exfoliated darkness. It sounds pretty funny. It's basically like Survivor, but with beauty queens. And then finally from the bookstore, I found Faithful Place by Tana French. This is the third in the Dublin Murder Squad series. I have read the first book, In the Woods, was a 5-star read for me. It was one of my favorite books last year. And so I've been continuing in the series. I've started the second book, and then I just happened to find this third book copy at the bookstore, so I just had to get it. But it's essentially all of the books, I think, or most of the books, are about people who are in the Dublin Murder Squad, which is, you know, basically a very small police force in Dublin, and they solve homicides. And it's interesting because there aren't a lot of crimes or like violent crimes. And so it literally is like a tiny squad of just like a couple people. And they're just, the character work is amazing. At least In the Woods was that way. And you grow to really care about these people. I was super excited to find this one. All right, moving on to books I found at my library. I did not know, I don't know how I didn't know this, but I did not know until last week that the library sells books. Like, I don't know why I never noticed that. I'm there all the time. But anyway, they have these carts where they sell books for super cheap. And I got a bunch of them. And so one of them that I found was The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This is actually a Netflix. They've done a Netflix adaptation, which I probably won't watch because, as I've mentioned before, I get scared very easily. But I don't mind it in a book. So Shirley Jackson is like she's basically like one of the greats of horror. And I haven't read anything of hers yet, but I'm going to start with this one. But I believe in this, we just have these 4 people who go to Hill House because they're trying to figure out what is happening there. And is it haunted, or is it, you know, supernatural stuff going on? And that's pretty much all I know about it and all I want to know. Next up, we have An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. As newlyweds, Celestial and Roy are living the American dream. He is a young executive and she is an artist on the brink of an exciting career. But after Roy's incarceration for a crime he did not commit, Celestial, bereft and unmoored, turns to childhood friend and Roy's best man, Andre, for support. As Roy's absence drags on, Celestial faces soul-wrenching decisions about balancing loyalty with independence, desire with social and familial expectations, and what is right with what is fair, and to whom. That just sounds super interesting to me. That's pretty much all I know. I haven't I've heard of it before. I've heard good things. But I guess it was in Oprah's book club, so that's interesting. But yeah, so I'm super excited to read this one too. Next up, we have 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This was the winner of the Nobel Prize. It doesn't give a lot away in the description. It just says, it tells the story of the rise and fall, birth and death of the mythical town of Macondo through the history of the Buendia family. Inventive, amusing, magnetic, sad, and alive with unforgettable men and women, brimming with truth, compassion, and a lyrical magic that strikes the soul. This novel is a masterpiece in the art of fiction. So that sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty spicy. Next up, we have Ruth Ware, The Turn of the Key. I read, if you watched my March wrap up, you'll know that I read The Death of Mrs. Westaway a couple weeks ago. And I was slightly disappointed. I gave it a 3-star because it wasn't as thrilling as I expected it to be. However, the consensus is that The Turn of the Key is her best book. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I did say I was going to read her again because I liked her writing. It says, when Rowan Kane stumbles across the ad, she's looking for something else completely, but it seems like too good an opportunity to miss, a live-in nanny post with a staggeringly generous salary. And when she arrives at Heather Bray house, she is smitten by the luxurious smart home fitted out with all modern conveniences, by the beautiful Scottish Highlands, and by this picture-perfect family. What she doesn't know is that she's stepping into a nightmare, one that will end with a child dead and herself in prison awaiting trial for murder. Writing to her lawyer from prison, she struggles to explain the unraveling events that led to her incarceration. It wasn't just the constant surveillance from the cameras installed around the house, or the malfunctioning technology that woke the household with booming music, or turned the lights off at the worst possible time. It wasn't just the girls, who turned out to be a far cry from the immaculately behaved model children she met at her interview. It wasn't even the way she was left alone for weeks at a time with no adults around apart from the enigmatic handyman Jack Grant. It was everything. She knows she's made mistakes. She admits she lied to obtain the post and that her behavior toward the children wasn't always ideal. She's not innocent by any means, but she maintains she's not guilty, at least not of murder, which means someone else is. That's literally everything I want in a book. Creepy house, creepy kids, secrets, lies, the whole thing. Next up, we have The Sympathizer by Viet Thanh Nguyen. This is another one where I have literally no information, but it says it's a gripping spy novel, a moving story of love and friendship, and a layered portrayal of a young man drawn into extreme politics. It examines the legacy of the Vietnam War in literature, film, and the wars we fight today. And yeah, that's all I know about it, but I've heard some really good things, and I'm excited to read it. Next up, we have A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. This one I have heard really good things about as well. I've heard it's very heartwarming or heartfelt and moving. We basically have a grumpy old man, and he thinks everyone is an idiot. Says Ove's well-ordered, solitary world gets a shake-up one November morning with the appearance of new neighbors, a chatty young couple and their 2 boisterous daughters, who announce their arrival by accidentally flattening Ove's mailbox with their U-Haul. What follows is a funny and heartwarming tale of unkempt cats, unlikely friendships, and a community's unexpected reassessment of the one person they thought they had all figured out. And then finally, we have One by One, also by Ruth Ware. This one I have heard enough about to know that it's not a thriller. It's a slow burn mystery. So I am going into it knowing that and probably like it better than The Death of Mrs. Westaway, but we'll see. So it's getting snowed in at a luxurious rustic ski chalet high in the French Alps doesn't sound like the worst problem in the world, especially when there's a breathtaking vista, a full-service chef and housekeeper, a cozy fire to keep you warm, and others to keep you company. Sounds legit. Unless that company happens to be 8 co-workers, each with something to gain, something to lose, and something to hide. When the co-founder of Snoop, a trendy London-based tech startup, organizes a week-long trip for the team in the French Alps, it starts out as a corporate retreat like any other. PowerPoint presentations and strategy sessions broken up by mandatory bonding on the slopes. But as soon as one shareholder upends the agenda by pushing a lucrative but contentious buyout offer, tensions simmer and loyalties are tested. The storm brewing inside the chalet is no match for the one brewing outside, however, and a devastating avalanche leaves the group cut off from all access to the outside world. Even worse, one snooper hadn't made it back from the slopes when the avalanche hit. As each hour passes without any sign of rescue, panic mounts, the chalet grows colder, and the group dwindles further, one by one. So I believe this is like a kind of a different take on And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which I gave 5 stars. So I am super looking forward to this. It sounds so good. Like the setting, I feel like the way they described it at least gave me a sense that it was more of like a slow burn, which I appreciate. But yeah, I am very, very excited to start this one. And then finally, we have my book of the month pick for March, which is the Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I've heard some reviews have already started to come in about this one, and everyone has loved it that I've seen. 1977, Clare Lake, Oregon, was shaken by the lady killer murders. 2 men, seemingly randomly, were murdered with the same gun, with strange notes left behind. Beth Greer was the perfect suspect, a rich, eccentric 23-year-old woman seen fleeing one of the crime scenes, but she was acquitted and retreated to the isolation of her mansion. Oregon, 2017. Shay Collins is a receptionist, but by night she runs a true crime website, the Book of Cold Cases, a passion fueled by the attempted abduction she escaped as a child. When she meets Beth by chance, Shay asks her for an interview. To Shay's surprise, Beth says yes. They meet regularly at Beth's mansion, though Shay is never comfortable there. Items move when she's not looking, and she could swear she's seen a girl outside the window. The allure of learning the truth about the case from the smart, charming Beth is too much to resist, but even as they grow closer, Shay senses something isn't right. Is she making friends with a manipulative murderer, or are there other dangers lurking in the darkness of the Greer house? Again, everything I love, and that's mainly why I picked this book for this month. So I am super excited for that. So that's pretty much gonna do it for this part of my book haul. I do have some more books to talk about, but I'll save those for a different video. I hope you all enjoyed. I am really excited about all the new books I've gotten recently. I feel like I'm really expanding my genres and kind of expanding what I am reading. So I am excited to update you guys on all of that. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.